Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, El Shai, double honors unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to you, sincere Akim out there, the hopeful elect. Shalom. This is a article from the Independent UK. This is more information going into the mark of the beast and a possible angle that could be exercised to use for the mark of the beast and a wise choice on the side of, in the case of the elites, because their agenda is actually to wipe out masses of people and at the same time implement the RFID chip. What better way for it to be done than by a so-called a false flag attack with germ warfare, which actually they only have the cure to or immunity to, and a select few, and then majority of the people die, okay, in their so-called controlled manner, where certain people that want to get the treatment or vaccination treatment, basically they go straight to the government for that cure, okay. So this is the article from the Independent UK. It says Donald Trump's administration is not prepared for the next global pandemic, okay. So we're talking about not epidemic, which is of a lesser worry, but we're talking about pandemic, which I believe pandemic means pan meaning all, and demic goes back to people. So all people meaning it's a plague that hits all people, or a majority of people. Okay, so it says top U.S. health posts remain unfilled at time when spread of infectious disease could kill as many as nuclear attack. So it shows you that a nuclear attack, a disease, infectious disease, a contagion, would have the same effect as a ICBM in terms of killing people. The Trump administration has failed to fill crucial public health positions across the government, leaving the nation ill-prepared to face one of its greatest potential threats, a pandemic outbreak of a deadly infectious disease. According to the experts in health and national security, no one knows where or when the next outbreak will occur. Okay? But health security experts say it is inevitable. What did they say before about these terrorist attacks in London? For you people that are over here in the UK, they said that a terrorist attack is basically on the way. They said it's inevitable. So now you gotta apply the same form of mindset when reading these articles, man. It's saying that what? It's saying that so lucky I lost where I was in the article, man. Saying no one knows when the next outbreak will occur, but health security experts say it is inevitable. Inevitable, alright? Every president since Ronald Reagan has faced threats from infectious disease. So there's a trend. And the number of outbreaks is on the rise. There's a trend and it's becoming more and more prominent. Over the past 3 years, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has monitored more than 300 outbreaks in 160 countries, tracking 37 dangerous pathogens in 2016 alone. Infectious diseases cause about 15% of all deaths worldwide. Okay? Read that part again. It says 15% of all deaths infectious disease cause about 15% of all deaths worldwide. So even the elites, obviously, with knowing this information, know the power that's within disease. When it's, controlled, or whether it be of the Lord, be an outbreak, it is able to wipe out adequate amount of the population. Okay, saying over a tenth of the population in the world. Tenth of the population in the world died from it. But after 11 weeks in office, the Trump administration has filled few of the senior positions critical to responding to an outbreak. Okay, I'll read that again. The Trump administration has filled few of the senior positions critical to responding to an outbreak. So they don't even have the means in place, the leadership, the hierarchy in place to deal with something of this magnitude. All right. There is no permanent director at the CDC or at the U.S. Agency of International Development. At the Department of Health and Human Service, no one has been named to fill sub-cabinet posts for health, global affairs, or preparedness and response. It also is it's also unclear whether the National Security Council will assume the same leadership on the issue as it did under President Barack Obama. According to public health experts, so it said it is also unclear whether the National Security Council will assume the same leadership on the issue as it did under President Barack Obama. So this guy ain't even in order, man. Trump ain't got his shit together for nothing, man. So this shows you how open it is for them to do some, perform a a false flag germ warfare attack. It's open. It's open season. We need people in a position to help steer the ship, said Steve Davis, the chief executive of PATH, a Seattle-based international health technology non-profit working with countries to improve their ability to detect the disease. We are actually very concerned. So they show you that they're showing great concern. I'm going to jump through this because this is quite a long article. I just want to hit some points. That's Satan, man. Okay. Let me just bear with me. Okay. So this is. I'm gonna start from here. In a speech to a security conference in Munich earlier this year, billionaire Bill Gates said a pandemic threat needs to be taken as serious as other national security issues. All right. Now, bear in mind, Bill Gates and his wife, what are they known for investing in? They're known for investing in what I believe is Planned Parenthood, and then also known as being great advocates of eugenics. Okay, basically, the belief that only that the so-called white race, which are the Edomites pertaining to the Bible, are the superior race on the face of the earth. Okay, and so they're known for that, and they actually want to kill all Jake out here, man. That's what Planned Parenthood's all about, man, because it tells you that a great no, the biggest killer for Jake, only dealing with Judah, for example, over in America. It says basically more so-called more Jakes die than anything from abortion than any other form of death in America, man. So that's a big way that they're getting rid of Jake, man. And that really goes back to showing you that it's Egypt reincarnated. That's the same thing that Pharaoh basically done to Israel, man. Killing all of our children 2 years and under. All right. So now it says, billionaire Bill Gates said a pandemic threat needs to be taken as seriously as other national threat security issues. Imagine if in the world there's a weapon that exists, and imagine, I believe him saying this is him actually telling you that this is the case because he knows. He's one of the lesser, the lesser luminaries, or that could emerge capable of killing tens of thousands or millions of people, bringing economies to a standstill. Okay, let me read that again. Exists, or that could emerge capable of killing tens of thousands or millions of people, and that's what they want to do. Want to kill millions of people. Basically, more than we're talking about 80% of the population on Earth. Okay, something to within that range, 70-80%. Okay, bringing economies to a standstill. I remember, what's the RFID chip about? What did it tell you? No man could buy or sell. So what the RFID chip is centered around biometrics. Okay, basically having control over people. Keeping tabs on everyone. All right. Marking all the people on the earth as the property to the so-called white man, and knowing all of their movements and having control over their money, and that's basically relying on a cashless society. So in order for them to instill that cashless society, what they need to do, they need to crash this society that they presently have. And what better way to do it done through, this form of manner that we're speaking on? It's saying, because it says this terrorist attack, or and that's what he actually said it as well. He said it there's a weapon. He didn't talk about it as a natural occurring disease. He spoke about it as a weapon. Okay, and about terrorism. There are multiple terrorists in position. This one form of attack would basically knock all the dominoes and get the ball rolling, man. This will not basically criminalize Jake as the face of terrorism, implement a cashless society, kill millions and thousands of people, implement basically a totalitarian rulership. Like, this is the best way they could go about it. From the outside looking in, because it seems like it will set a lot of things in place instantaneously, man, without them having to do much, as far as doing it all one by one, bit by bit. Okay, so bringing economies to a standstill and throwing nations into chaos. Order ab chaos. What's that? One of the sayings of the elites, man. Throwing the nations into chaos. So if all the nations go into chaos, man, that's when Esau rolls around and brings around his order, man, and then puts all these nations, one nation, one nation under. That's lucky. The saying's escaping me right at this point, man. But basically, they'll have total control over all nations, okay, and implement themselves as the one government over all governments. All right, said Gates, who has spent billions to improve health worldwide. Okay, whether it occurs by a quirk of nature, which, come on, man, all those things, guy dealing with Ebola and all those things, that's a patent. Ebola is a patented disease, patented in America, man. So they have control over that, or at the hand of a terrorist, and the terrorism they have their hand in that, man. ISIS, Daesh, ISIL, IS, all these different things, they have total control over them, man. Epidemiologists say a fast-moving airborne pathogen could kill more than 30 million people in less than a year. Okay, so they're saying a fast-moving that's what they're saying it could do. The projected annual cost of the pandemic could reach as high as 570 billion. And where do you think they're going to get that money from? The central banks, man. So that'll put a lot of nations into a tailspin and put the squeeze on these nations even more. So last month, Trump met with Gates at the White House. After the meeting, Press Secretary Sean Spicer said the two had a shared commitment to finding and stopping disease outbreaks around the world. So they're all at one in this, Americans are at a greater risk than ever from new infectious diseases, drug-resistant infections, and potential bioterrorism organisms. Despite advances in medicine and technology, experts say not only has the total number of outbreaks increased in the past 3 decades, but the scale and impact and methods of transmission also have expanded because of climate change, urbanization, and globalization. All right. So they're saying the fact that the change in climate, which is all bullshit, but you could use the chemtrails into that, put the chemtrails into that urbanization, people living in close proximity, globalization, everyone being intermingled, can basically make this, um, you know, uh, basically make this more effective than it once was. So let me just hit this scripture real quick, and be behold, the plagues are. This is Second Ezra 16 and 14. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot from a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. And what are the plagues? There's all manner of plagues, man. Um, Basically, death by disease, death by the troopers in martial law, death by the beasts of the field, death by the angels. There's all manners of forms of plagues that are sent upon the earth, and also the ICBMs. You know, World War III, a firefight between America and Russia, where America is gonna get the worst out of it, man. Because even the nations that are at peace with America are gonna send the ICBMs over into America and destroy it and make it an everlasting fire, man. And then when it boils down, it shall become a desert, all right? And then also Yahushua and the angels are going to be in the midst. And those that die in Yahushua are going to be raised up first. And they're going to be there present with the Lord, beaming concentrated fire into onto the people in the land of America. And also, you know, doing it when the ICBMs hit as well. So it reads verse 17, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? So even Esdras was scared, man, because he saw this in a vision, and he saw the great, the great death that was committed upon the land, man. So he knew that these things were good. The Bible says it's a time like never before, man. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, and the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. So all these things that are going to come, mainly focusing on the plagues, is sent for scourge for amendment, to make people know to repent unto the Lord. But guess what, man? It says, but for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Because like going back into the time of Pharaoh, man, when all them plagues were brought upon the land of Egypt, the Lord hardened his heart. And it's the same thing that's going to be done in this time. The Lord's going to harden the hearts of the people, all right? And they ain't going to turn away. They're just going to be judged in that day, man. So with that, I pray you're edified. It's a quick video, you know, through the Spirit. Lord willing, you know, brothers were edified. Like I say, all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, El Shai, double honors unto the apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to the elect. Shalom.